what's happened, I just hope we are not in danger. We survey the battlefield, giants and barbarians lay dead upon the ground. Hand axes and arrows, but no answers to be found. I'm shaken by a sudden fear that danger is abound round here. Adventure continues.
Speaking of chasing ghosts, we must off. And he ends the conversation there. You get through the rest of the day. Very little happens. Get to night time. Let's roll perception, please.
Provided nothing happens, I will get back to some sewing tonight.
Okay.
13 for Dweezil this time.
I can't remember if we made you roll for that, Sam. Did we make you roll?
Yeah, I can't remember what it was, though.
I'd imagine it had been sleight of hand or something like that. We'll have a look at it in a second.
Yes.
Sorry, what was your perception? 17 was that, Dweezil?
13.
13, sorry.
16. Oh, 16.
12.
7.
7. Right. Nothing happens. Amongst the group, everyone is absolutely calm. Night passes and nothing of any interest happens to any of you or anything, and you manage to get through to the next day. Okay. Next morning arrives. You set off from camp. As you travel,
Are we not rolling for the sewing?
We'll do it off. We'll make a note of it, and we'll do it off thingy. You set off as you start travelling through the grasslands and moors. After a little while, you start seeing some hills to the west of you. They start getting larger and more impressive, and it's fairly reminiscent of when you were in the Desserin Hills back outside Yarta. You know that these are in your path, and you know that they're likely to slow you down. And so you start sort of veering a little northwards to try and get around them. Take you a little bit longer to get around them, but probably in the long run, it's going to be a bit shorter than going up and over all these large hills. To the north of you, you notice, in particular, one extra hill, almost on its own, and different in nature. It's a solitary, rocky one, and you can see that this, even from this distance, you can see that this overlooks a passage of water, a tributary for the Subarin River. On top of the hill, however, you see what appears to be a grassy crown, or at least a layer of grass, an extra sort of bit on top of the hill, if you will. And sticking out of it is a white rock of about 350 foot, striking out into the sky like a fang. Now, again, very much like the battle, I'm going to offer you the opportunity if you wish to go by it.
Oh, God,
you don't have to. You don't have to, but if you wish to go and investigate, you may do so.
Krill is fascinated by this obelisk-esque stone. Mate, is that accurate?
Yeah, I mean, it's giant. It's like this little sort of beam of stone just straight up into the
diameter-wise.
From here, quite tough to gauge, but you'd guess it's probably at least 10, 20 foot, if not a lot more.
Does it look natural?
I mean, yes and no. I mean, the juxtaposition of all of this, no. This is certainly not like a landscape or landmark that you would have seen before. But the stone, even from this distance, it doesn't. It's in itself look like anything other than stone.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the general intention is of everybody, but almost without even discussing it, Crow's going to just sort of veer his course towards it.
Yeah, I think
in just complete fascination.
Yeah, I'd be curious to check it out as well.
Yeah, it's
too obscure to just ignore.
Okay, as you get closer, you start seeing that this thing, this rock, is actually a lot bigger than you first and I first suggested. At the peak, you'd guess it's probably a good 50 foot across. At the bottom, though, it's probably a good 150 wide. And as I say, it shoots up into the sky by about 350 foot. That's much is correct. As you get there, you climb the rocky hill, get to the top, and then, like I say, you've then got this sort of like extra layer of hill that's all grassy and green, which in itself is probably about 50 foot high. So it's going to be a fair old climb for you to get to the top of it. Do you wish to do so?
I'd like to try to.
Okay. Can you roll me an athletics check then, Krill, and anyone else that wishes to? At the moment, you've not noticed anyone around here or anything like that.
I get advantage on athletics checks. I'm just trying to figure out.
I was going to say, as Greg is on Smog, can I have advantage on this?
Well, you'd be fine. You could just fly up. You wouldn't need to.
No, it's a push, pull, lift, or break that I get advantage for, so it wouldn't be that, would it?
No.
I don't think I'll bother climbing up. I'll just wait at the bottom.
Natural 20 on that one. So what do I get?
Okay. We'll say that you get to the top of that then in some good order.
Nice.
As you get to the top of it, you can now see in more detail across this large landscape. And it's quite unusual because it's quite flat from where you are. A lot of it is, well, when I say it's flat, it's not like it's lots of other little hills or anything like that. But as you look across, a lot of the land is at a similar level to where you are now stood. But as you look, you can see that there are dips, sort of not quite carved into the ground, but it looks like the best description I can say is it looks a little bit like a maze or something like that. It looks like you've got this hill with these sort of like rivulets or corridors and various shapes and stuff like that, all sort of like dipping down. From here, the magnitude of this rock that sticks out into the sky is, it's even more impressive the closer you get to it.
Yeah, Crow's almost hypnotized by it at this point. It's very unlikely that anything's going to make him turn his course.
Okay. You look around though, and realistically, there's nothing else here. The stone itself is impressive, but you see nothing else of any particular. Like you see no buildings, you see no campfires, you see no people. There's nothing other than this sort of piece of nature, which appears to be completely unlike anything you've seen before. Harshnag eventually sort of gets up close to you, and for him, 50 feet is a lot easier for him to climb. And he gets to the top and stands beside you. He says, "I have been a while since I've seen one of these. It is a spirit mound. Do you know what this is, Krill?"
No, I've never heard of one.
It is a place for Uthgard to worship. We are lucky that there are none here today. I would not suggest we wait here for long, but please take in the beauty, for this is a spiritual place and should always be honored and respected.
How far away am I from the actual rock itself?
I would say where you are, you're pretty much the other side of it. If you imagine that you're at 6 o'clock, it's at about 10:30, 11 o'clock. And it's probably about 600 foot away from you, from where you are.
It feels like a lot of effort to just go up and touch a rock. I do want to touch the rock, though.
Would you like your lift on, Smog? He could get you there pretty quick.
Oh, that would be absolutely wonderful. I really just want to touch this rock quite a lot.
All right, big boy, hop on. Let's go. And with that, we're going to fly off towards it.
Okay, so you fly off towards it. It takes a few seconds to get there. What is it, 50 foot a second or 50 foot per round, isn't it? Something like that. So it takes you a few seconds to get there, but you eventually get there. The base of it?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's say about 10 foot up. So not quite the base. But...
Okay.
Don't neglect the base.
You get to the base, and what are you doing then, Krill? You touching it?
Yeah, sort of hesitantly.
Both hands on? Gently?
No, I'm gonna, because we're up on the broom, that I'm not entirely convinced of its safety. I'm going to obviously hold on, and then use the other hand to gently sort of
caress.
Just sort of push my palm against the shaft of the rock.
Okay. You have a look at it. Roll me a perception or an investigation, whatever's better for you.
Probably do sleight of hand if you want.
14.
14. You touch it and it feels a little dusty to you, and you notice that, or you would get the impression that this is probably made of. Let me just double check this. Make sure.
Chalk.
Yes, white chalk. Just double checking that was definitely what it was. Made of white chalk. No less the impressive here. I mean, as you say, now that you've got it and you've got this huge spire that leads up directly almost from where you are, it's dominating over you. Like, bear in mind, you've been traveling with Harshnag, who's a lot taller than you. This thing is just like, it just, from where you are, it just goes into the sky and it just feels like it never ends. It feels like it just travels all the way to heavens.
Obviously, being totally sort of barb, I get the spiritual side of it. Huge respect for it now that I've had it explained to me by Harshnag what it is. He's gonna sort of scratch off some of the chalk, so he's got some of the chalk on his hands, and then he's just gonna use that sort of chalky print just to put a white handprint on his arm somewhere.
Nice.
I thought you were gonna scratch into it. Krill was here.
No.
As whilst this is happening, as Greg and Krill have shot off, Harshnag has descended back down and gone to see the rest of the other three of you, and has basically explained the same thing to you guys, that this is what's known as a spirit mound. It's a spiritual place for the Uthgart barbarians.
Crew's gonna speak to
Harshnag.
We'll zip back. I'll give my thanks to Greg, and then speak to Harshnag and just say it truly is a spiritual place of great significance. But as you said, we should probably quickly move on. And then
Cool. You all descend. Anything else anyone wants to do while you're here?
No.
I think so.
No.
Okay. You descend and get back on your pathway. This is taking you a little bit out of where you were traveling, but not dramatically so. You get back riding, and you've now got, essentially, you've got the Lurkwood to the right of you. You've got these hills to the left of you. You travel on for the rest of the day, and we get to night time. Please, can I have a roll of perception from all of you?
10.
10.
Ooh, 11.
Ooh, 20.
Also
5.
11.
20. Who was that? 20.
Greg.
You. I don't know whether Dweezil would have told you this, but you hear those wings that he mentioned, or maybe not mentioned, but that he would have heard. So you hear these sounds of these possible, anyway, manticore wings high above you. Nothing attacks, nothing happens again, but certainly you hear this, and you're on guard for the whole night. But Dweezil, during your watch, as you're sitting there looking after the rest of your crew, making sure that everyone's safe, the side of your face starts to itch again, and you are, after a while, you get that foreboding feeling, and then all of a sudden you blink, and you're back in the room. You're back in the chapel.
Shazam.
Things are a little different this time, though. You get the sense that, maybe it's the same day. You see the priest, the guy at the front that spoke to you but didn't speak to you, stood at the front. Looking a lot more official, though, now. He's got proper robes on. He looks like he's got a proper formal attire on. You see that at the very front to his right, there is an easel with a board on with some words. You can't see at the moment what they say from where you are. And although you can't make out any details, you can see in the front row is sat a man. You are sat on the third row back on the left side of the chapel. He is sat on the front row, sort of directly in front of you, but in the first row. You get that same feeling again that this is not a dream, this is real, that you're here. You know that can't be true, obviously, because you're not here. You weren't here earlier, but needless to say, you still feel that level of lucidity and feel that you can do what you want to do. You feel like your virtual reality, for want of a better word, albeit not in a fantasy setting. What do? You've literally sort of just blinked and you can just see the guy at the front. He's not saying anything at the moment, but do you wait? Do you do anything? Do you want to look around?
Just have a look around and check, are the stained glass windows the same as I remember? Is the plaque the same as I remember?
Yeah. Okay, so you look around and yeah, everything seems exactly the same. There are two main differences other than the ones I've detailed. The first one is the sun feels like it's coming in at a slightly different angle. So this feels like this is not the same time of day as you had before. The priest did mention a service an hour later. Perhaps it's the same day. Perhaps it's that movement of sun. The other thing is, as you're looking around and you turn to look at the windows on your right-hand side, at the corner of your eye, you notice that there are actually two other bodies, two other people here, sat on the left-hand side as you're facing, and sat on the very back row. Do you want to look at them in any more detail? You only catch the glimpse of them out of the corner of your eye.
Yes, please. I'll turn around and look, and I will. I'll turn around and look.
Okay, you look and you see two fairly stark-looking different characters. One is a large female Goliath, and the second is a male tiefling.
Don't recognise them though.
No recognition whatsoever.
No. How far apart are the pews?
Typical, like church. They're quite. Your knees are very close to the back of the chair in front of you.
Is it possible for me to lean forward then, even if I'm on the third pew, and tap the fella on the front row on the back on his shoulder?
Yeah, you can do that.
I'll do that one, please.
It's not quite as you still have to stretch a little bit to get there, but you do so, and you tap him on the shoulder, and nothing happens.
Just a question: have I got all my stuff with me? Like, have I got me rapier? Have I got?
You look down, and you can't see any equipment with you. You're dressed. You're dressed in pretty much dweezil clothes, but you don't see any weapons upon you. As you're thinking that over, the priest sort of finishes what he says, and you because of the fact you've been sort of zapped into this, you sort of not really been paying attention to what he says, so you miss a lot of what he says at the end. But he sort of just turns around and he looks at the symbol, and you see him sort of bow his head a little, and he sort of does a few hand gestures, and then he turns around and he walks over to the man in the front row who stands, and the elf offers his hand out, and they shake a hand, and he puts his hand on his shoulder and says, "I'm terribly sorry for your loss. I hope that this brings you some measure of acceptance." And the man in the front row doesn't really say anything. You see him nodding sort of a few times, just solemnly.
And what do I see?
You just see the back of him. You still see nothing of him.
I'm gonna, as soon as I see him, I'm just gonna go back into the camp, aren't I? Dweezil doesn't believe that he's really there. Dweezil doesn't believe that these people can see me or hear me. So I'm just going to stand up and I'm going to loudly proclaim, "What is this bollocks? Who is showing this to me?" And I'm going to walk round to the front and see if I can see the man's face.
Okay. You walk up. Two things. Firstly, can you roll me a perception?
Yep. That is a natty 20, 25.
As you are walking up, In fact, when you first shouted, there's sort of just the man who's backed to you. You sort of just see him just like his head just doesn't turn, but just sort of like almost like he heard you, but doesn't make any major thing. But it's sort of just a little recognition that something weird happened. As you start walking up towards him, this easel that has the words on it, just before you get a chance to read it, you can see the words just start disappearing, and it just becomes a completely blank piece of paper. The man, as you're approaching, turns to face you, but not really to face you. He's just facing in your direction. He looks straight through you, and he looks past you and sees the two sat on the back row and sort of stops for half a second and carries on walking. Now that he's facing you, you can see that this is another elven man. He's got a beard. He looks bedraggled. He looks like he's not slept in many days. But he's quite attractive. He's quite live, and he just looks lost. Is the best way I can put it. No discernible features. Very, very sort of not plain looking, because I said he's attractive, but sort of there's nothing particularly striking about him other than him being a good looking fella. Bit older. He walks towards you until he walks through you. And he carries on out through the doors and opens the double doors. As he does so, a cacophony of noise hits you from the outside. And you realise that wherever you are, this is a busy, bustling city of some sorts. And he walks through the doors. As he gets through the doors, the Goliath and the Tiefling follow him out. Do you want to follow them?
Yeah.
Okay. You follow them, and you get outside the front doors. And same thing as the noise that hit you. You get a feast for the senses. You get a smell of everything going on here. You can see it's very bright. Bearing in mind, your eyes are almost still adjusted to the darkness. It's quite weird, and just get this lot of brightness, a lot of noise, a lot of everything going on. It's an overload for the senses. You can see, though, just very closely up in front of you, the elven man walks across the road to a bar. Walks straight in. You see the Goliath and the Tiefling follow him in. Do you want to follow them into the bar?
Yes, please.
Okay. As you walk in, it's a fairly busy bar. It's a very typical tavern. Inn, sorry. Very typical inn. It's half full. A lot of people drinking. The elven man goes and sits at a table, and he sort of just waves at the barmaid, who comes over. She puts a drink down in front of him. She rests her hand on his shoulder and gives him a warm smile, which he returns. The Goliath and the Tiefling sit in front of him, casting a large shadow over him. Do you wish to go to the table?
Yes, please.
Or anything else you want to do, I should say.
No, I'm focused on this man.
You get to the table, and you can see his face now up close. There's an added level of dread that these two have sat down in front of him. "Where is she?" says the Tiefling. You blink. You're back in the camp.
Oh.
You wake up the next day. Again, I don't know if you want to do anything with that information.
Just letting it absolutely mash my head. Stuart is trying. Stuart's got an idea, but I don't know whether it's just an absolute flight of fancy and it's really far fetched. But I think no, I don't think I want to talk to anyone about it.
Okay.
I think it's a bit personal.
Okay. You break down the camp and you start travelling for the day. You shortly arrive at a small river which feeds into the Suberin River to the south of you. fortunately, you start thinking about how you're going to cross this. But fortunately, to the south of you, to the north of you, you spot a small bridge. Even from this distance, you can see that it's probably big enough to fit you and the horses across, but Harshnag is going to be a little bit more difficult. Luckily, the river isn't particularly deep, and he assures you that he'll be able to get across without any concerns. As soon as you reach the other side, you are confronted by large and ragged hills, which Harshnag reiterates are known as the Suberin Hills. This is obviously an area of Suberin with the river and the hills named after it. As has always been the plan, you continue to skirt around these to the north in an attempt to avoid both delays and danger, in particular knowing that the Uthgard barbarians may frequent that area. Harshnag doesn't say as such, but he is obviously very keen to ensure that you guys don't get into a battle with them this close to your goal or your next destination. At one point, he looks a little distance and he's just looking off to the south of you. One of you perhaps asks him what he's looking for, and he mentions that he thinks he might see a settlement or some sort of structure to the south, and bids that you continue moving at some pace to ensure that you're not caught off guard. The rest of the day goes fairly uneventfully. Quinch, I don't know if you want to roll for your cube.
Yeah, I'll have another go. Here we go. Ooh, we've got a 13.
That does pass, yeah. Okay, very, very close. Ridiculously close. Okay. Roll me perception for the night, please.
15.
Juicy
19.
7.
22.
22. Dawoff, during your watch, you hear some quite disturbing noises to the north of you coming from the Lurking Woods, was it? Did you say? Whatever the name of that woods was?
Yeah, the Lurkwood.
Lurkwood, that's it. You hear some guttural noises, some really weird noises coming from there, and what you would assume is the sound of trees being knocked over or pulled out of the ground altogether. But again, nothing comes close to you guys, and you get through your watch with no actual physical danger coming to you.
I just assume Quinch has wandered off again if I hear weird noises coming from the woods.
It's very possible, isn't it? Okay. Harshnag next morning wakes up and says, I think that perhaps if we do well, we could be at the Long Road tomorrow. We could be back in civilization. Whilst we have not fought anyone in the last few days, I can assure you I have been worried and watching out. I am concerned that the Uthgard or any other manners of creatures will get to us. So I suggested we push on. This day, the Lurkwood and the hill start to enclose on you a little bit. There's still plenty of space between you. It's not by any means forcing you into one another, but you felt this before. I think it was when you was going past the high woods, high forest days and days ago. You get a similar sense here, knowing that the Lurkwood is not a particularly nice place to be. There's a lot of barbarians, orcs, various other creatures in there, and similarly, you know that there are barbarians to the south of you. You know that you would rather stay out in the open, even though that shows you off more. It's certainly going to be one that allows you to see danger coming. You also know that the Lurkwood is a very big hunting range for Mirabar. Knowing that Harshnag is potentially going to Mirabar and potentially you are as well, this gives you a little bit of a sense of glad tidings, I guess, knowing that one of your destinations is getting ever closer. The closer, as you're travelling along, though, you start seeing directly in front of you. It's without changing your course, it's going to be pretty unavoidable. You start seeing directly in front of you a large structure. It's about 500 foot away from you currently, but it's very noticeable. It's nowhere near the size of the Fang, the chalky fang, but it is big enough that even you can see it, and Harshnag points it out as well. Do you wish to try and avoid this, or do you wish to happily come upon it, so to speak?
There's Harshnag. Do you know what this building in front of us is?
No, I am not aware. No, it is not something I am aware of. No.
Looks like a building, like some kind of tower, or
That is my guess. Some sort of tower. Perhaps it is some sort of watchtower for the woods or the hills. Perhaps someone's home. I do not know. I have travelled across the north, but there are many places I have not travelled on.
so. Greg, have you got your map? Let's have a look at your map, Greg and Mel.
Well, okay. Greg will pull out his map of the area. But...
If we try and get our bearings on the map and see if we think that it matches up with any of the places that are marked on the map.
You look and you can't see any villages or any towns or anything else in that particular area. But roll me a perception, those that are looking at the map. So I'd imagine just Greg and Dweezil at advantage.
Oh, natural 20, 25.
This is the map that you got from Lord Bong Rippington's house, correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
As you're looking, you notice something that you've never noticed before. Perhaps it's stuff that's happened in the last few days prior to this travel that's maybe started to funnel your mind. Way back when you received the map, you looked at it and you knew that there'd been some markers placed on it of places that, you thought were perhaps places that he'd visited or perhaps places that he had done gigs at, because obviously he was a travelling magician and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You're not looking for this. But now you are looking. You notice that some of the places he's marked off, in fact, the only places he's marked off are Tribor, Yartar, Noanar's Hold, Everland, Silvery Moon, Zymorvan Hall, Xanthar's Keep, and Neverwinter.
Oh, come on. Upon realisation of that Dweezil is a noticeably pained expression upon Dweezil's face. This is exactly what's been playing on Dweezil's mind. All of these things that suggest that everything we do is predetermined, that everything we do is laid out for us, and we're just playing parts.
You got this map way back in Anvale.
Yeah.
And
When did we last see on Rippington?
You saw him between Everland and Silvery Moon. Last time you saw him was when Daboth had just died.
So the map's updated since the last time that we saw him.
It doesn't have Xanthar's
Keep on it.
These were you saw that they were marked for places, but at the time they meant nothing to you. There was no relevance. You were on your way to Tribor at the time, but beyond that, at that point you had no idea you'd be visiting any of the other names of those places, and somehow this map has almost known that those were places you're going to be visiting, or certainly have marked them. You don't know what it means. You don't know whether that's even Bong Rippington's doing, or whether this is the map's doing. You've no idea about it. You just know that these places have been marked, which, as I say, at the time meant nothing to you. I mean, Neverwinter was a huge place. Everland and Silvery Moon are very large cities in their own right. So you wouldn't have looked at those and gone, "Oh, they're naturally on our to-do list," so to speak, at that point.
Yeah, no, I was thinking it was updating possibly with places that we'd been, but if they'd been there previous to us going to those places.
No, it's not. It's not a Marauders map or whatever it's called. Okay, so but aside from that little bit of information, you don't see anything about this tower. Okay, are you doing anything with the map, or are you carrying on to the tower?
No, just put the map away. It's not going to be any further assistance to us at the moment, I don't think.
I mean, aside from that, it's a very good map. It's showing you the north. It's you have no issues with the map itself in terms of its cartography side of life. It's just that obviously it's now got a bit of information that you're now like, oh my goodness, why did we not notice this before? You travel on towards the tower, and when you get there, you see that it is approximately, let's see, it's approximately 80 foot tall, and in quite poor condition. There are several birds flying across the around the top of it, and you're approaching it from the east. From the east. From your side, whilst you can see that there's a bit of rubble around the outside, the side of the tower you can see is in good condition, so to speak, or it's at least in one piece. Are you riding past? Are you investigating? Ignoring?
I would like to do a history check on it to see if I know the architecture or if I can see any like sigils on the walls or anything like that.
Okay. What role did you say? History or investigation?
History or investigation. It's up to you which one you would like me to do.
No, history's fine.
Okay, history. In that case, I've rolled a 15 and I've got a +5, so 20.
20, okay. This looks very much, as Harshnag suggested, sort of a watchtower of sorts. It doesn't look like it's a home. It doesn't look big enough structurally, although it is quite big. It doesn't look like it's necessarily been used for that. It's just a round tower with a few sort of like arrow slit type windows around it. So you'd suggest that it's maybe some sort of, as I say, watchtower or siege tower or something like that, just to, hunt or keep safe from barbarians or various other ill willers. As you get to the west side of it, you notice that there is a doorway, but that doorway next to it is a giant boulder that is not in front of the doorway itself, but is rolled away from the doorway. The doorway is accessible; it's open. There's no door to speak of there. It's been destroyed. But this boulder has been moved out the way as if it's being used to keep people in or keep people out, or vice. Yeah, it's being used as a door in itself.
What are we thinking here, chaps? Do we want to move the boulder?
The boulder's set aside, so it's not. You don't need to move it to get inside. You can access the building if you wish. So, and from this side, you can actually see there's a huge hole in the about 50 foot up. There's a huge hole in the tower. So if you wanted to, you could access it from above. If you wanted to access it through the door, you could access it through the door.
It's strange and intriguing, but I don't think we need to look at it. But
that's fair enough. I mean, there's no real reason. It just looks like an abandoned tower. So,
okay.
Yeah, carry on.
Anyone have any real desire to go inside?
It seems weird to not check it out, but it's also a very odd building, and we do need to get a move on.
Okay.
Can I just have a peer just in the doorway, see what we see?
Okay, yeah, you look inside the doorway, and what you see is a large circular structure. I mean, you could see it's circular from outside, but you see inside that as you look inside, there is a staircase which leads from the ground floor up to like a first floor, I guess, as we English people would call it. As you poke your head inside, it's quite stenchy inside. You can see that there are various bones on the floor, animal bones, carcasses, things like that. There's also some large, let's put it this way, droppings, shall we say. It's in poor condition otherwise as well, because obviously where this wall has been caved in, collapsed, whatever, there's a lot of rubble around on the floor. I mean, you get the sense that something is using this as its home.
Something big.
Something that can move a giant boulder, yeah.
Yeah, I'll relay that to the group and say I don't think this is a place we should hang around for long. Do I get the impression like the droppings and stuff are fresh? Or, relatively? Or are they...
Mixture.
Yeah, I'll advise that maybe we go before what lives here comes back.
Yeah.
All right. You move on then. You carry on for the rest of the day. And you get to nighttime. Can I get a perception roll?
7.
16.
Oh, a
Oh.
natty 1, so 4.
7.
The evening is fairly uneventful for most of you. One of you, however, has an itchy face.
Is it Krill?
Krill, you've been wiping your face with poison ivy, and it's showing. No, Driesel, you start getting that sensation again. It's been another couple of days, 2 or 3 days since your last outing, so to speak, and again, this sense of foreboding and confusion just overwhelms you. And you're looking at the fire 1 second. The next thing, you're looking at an elven man sat at a table across from 2 other people. I said, where is she? The tiefling retorts. The elven man looks up with tears in his eyes. Really? After today? Could be a performance. Her and that snake of a boyfriend of hers have always been tricksy, the Goliath answer. The elven man snorts and ignores them. She owes us money, the tiefling continues. And if we don't get paid, our boss doesn't get paid. And if our boss doesn't get paid, well, he's been keeping you 2 hidden. Maybe he doesn't do that no more. Maybe he sends a letter north. The elf stops mid-sip, slowly lowers his cup and gives a tiny nod of understanding, not looking at either person. I don't know what to tell you folks. I can assure you she is dead. She isn't coming back. Well then, if that's true, it's now your debt. See you tomorrow. The 2 leave, and the elf stands finishing his drink in 1 gulp. He stands for a second, his eyes darting around, not really looking at anything. Certainly straight through you, Dweezil. He heads to the bar and places a silver down, pauses for a second, then places a second silver down before walking to the stairs. Do you wish to follow?
Yep.
He goes upstairs, heads to one of the rooms, opening the door and going inside. You hear a click of the door. What do you want to do?
Just walk through the door. I presume I can walk through walls and doors.
You try to do that and something holds you back. It's not like you walk straight into the door by any means. Almost a force is holding you back. Do you do anything else?
Can I peer through the keyhole?
Yeah, you can do that if you want.
Yeah, I'll peer through the keyhole.
Okay. As you go to peer down the keyhole, you can see, first of all, you can see his footsteps moving around underneath the door, the shadows. You look through the keyhole and you can just see, you can't make out much detail, but you can just see him pacing left and right. And then eventually it goes black. Like he's covered the key, the keyhole, or he's put the key in or something like that. You can't see anything anymore. Anything you want to do?
Yeah, I want to run back down the stairs. I want to run outside and see if I can see the tiefling and the Goliath.
Okay. You do so, and you can't see them anywhere.
I will, like Charlton Heston at Planet of the Apes, I'll do like an overdramatic drop to my knees and shout something about bastards or something like that. Something northern.
Okay. Do you stay there?
I mean, how uncomfortably long am I, like, holding this kind of...
You tell me.
For an uncomfortably long time.
Okay.
Just on my knees in the middle of the street, screaming and shouting with no one noticing me.
You hear a scream from inside the bar.
I stop doing the knee scream of my own and run back to the into the bar to see what caused the scream.
You can see a couple of people rushing upstairs.
He's killed himself, hasn't he? I follow them up.
You follow them up and you see there's about half a dozen people now crowded around his door. You jostle to get to the front of them. You blink. You're back in the camp.
Oh,
Thanks for listening. Make sure you don't miss out on the circus's next crazy antics by hitting subscribe on your podcast app of choice. And in between episodes, you can always find us on social media by searching Dyson Desire on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram. We're in our 3rd year now, and if you want to help us grow, you can do so in a number of ways. You can tell a friend, because word of mouth really helps us get our name out there, or you can review us on Apple or Podchaser to help with our visibility. Finally, you can donate to our Ko-fi page to help us take the show to the next level. All links can be found in this episode's description. And never forget, sometimes it is a dog licking a tree, yes?
It's a dark and stormy night, and you approach the bar. As the woman turns, she says, "Who are you, adventurers?"
My name's Margaret Battlehammer. Did you want to know more about me than that? I'm a dwarf. Can you tell by my height?
That's right, and I'm Jump Thunderman, everyone. Lead and rhythm lootist of the Justice Loving Friends.
I play drums.
And I'm the lead and rhythm lootist of the Justice Loving Friends.
Yeah, you said that already.
What?
It is my honour to be the near sole vocalist of the Justice Loving Friends. I am a grung, fled from my people due to their slaving nature. But my name is Black.
A beautiful story, Black.
And I'm Morik, the Forest Father. I play the pan flute.
Yep.
I'm tall and greeny
Morik just looking down at himself like, I guess I'm quite furry.
The woman looks at you, fully perplexed, and says, "That's great. I only needed your names for the coffee order."
Oh, just put it down under Quest Fantastic.
A D&D actual play podcast.
What a hot mess.